The Supreme Court ruled in a decision 6-3 on Friday that President Trump exceeded his authority when imposing sweeping tariffs using a law reserved for national emergencies. The decision strikes down a huge chunk of Trump's far-reaching tariff agenda.
And as a result of Congress canceling the tariffs, all three indexes rallied. S&P 500 closed up 0.69%, Dow closed up 0.47%, and the Nasdaq closed up 0.9% to end the week. So we ended the week on a strong note.
The broad tariffs that the president imposed, the reciprocal tariffs, and the so-called fentanyl or trafficking tariffs were not authorized by the statute the president used. 3 justices said, yeah, you could, and 6 said, no, you can't.
The court basically found that there was no such national emergency, that the administration had not proven its case, that in fact that particular act had never been cited before as a reason to impose tariffs, which it decreed as taxes. Has been the White House's contention that exporters will essentially eat the tariffs. Numerous studies have said, in fact, that it is U.S. consumers and businesses that are, in fact, paying the cost of those tariffs.
Even his supporters said, I don't know that we signed up for this. Anything we buy is more expensive.
But are the tariffs over? Because minutes after, this headline popped up. Trump to hike global tariffs to 15% from 10%, effective immediately. President Donald Trump on Saturday said he would increase global tariffs to 15% from 10%, one day after the Supreme Court struck down his reciprocal tariffs. So my main question is, will this cause a stock market sell-off on Monday or this upcoming week?
They've said, we're going to put the tariffs right back on. The president's going to put the tariffs on under other authorities.
Today I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, over and above our normal tariffs already being charged.
But it's only good for 150 days. It's temporary.
Some of those tariff rates will stay in place. The administration is now going to have to go before Congress and provide justification. From an economic perspective, it takes away a layer of uncertainty. We've seen stock market gyrations through the past year, ever since the Liberation Day announcements. So it is a bit of a mitigator as far as market volatility goes.
And is this whole tariff trade thing helping America or not? I don't think so. And most Americans don't think so. Most Americans want trade negotiations to reduce barriers on both sides. And an overwhelming 60+% think that we should reduce some trade barriers. So what does the Trump tariffs do but cause drama? And are businesses going to want money back from the tariffs that they had to pay? Refunds from Trump's struck down tariffs remain up in the air. U.S. companies could stand to get billions back in tariff-related refunds after the Supreme Court ruled against President Trump's signature economic initiative. However, the path forward to obtain this money remains unclear. So this will be years of ongoing litigation, drama, and stock market gyrations.
The U.S. is a huge importer of goods. We saw over the last year, even with the tariffs, we still had a nearly $1 trillion cumulative trade deficit, which was just fractionally smaller than what it was the year before, even with the administration's efforts to level the playing field.
The court is saying nothing today about whether, and if so, how the government should go about returning the billions of dollars that it has collected from importers. But that process is likely to be a mess, as was acknowledged at oral arguments.
This kind of begins what will likely be a long and painstaking process. Just in fiscal 2026, we're talking about like $117 billion so far. The administration has really pegged its deficit reduction hopes on the idea of tariff revenue. What happens next year could be a little bit more complicated depending on what happens during the midterms, but it certainly doesn't mean that the tariffs are over.
And so far, what are the 4 industries worst hit by tariffs so far? Number 1, it's consumer goods, importers and retailers. So this is pretty much everything from what we wear to household gadgets. tariffs. The next industry is automakers and auto parts. Next one is agriculture. This is why some foods are more expensive at the grocery store. Steel and aluminum using in industries. This is why cars are more expensive. This is why houses are more expensive. This also applies to wood and furniture. So what is the retail industry saying about the Trump tariff cancellations by the Supreme Court?
The tariff reaction in the markets and specifically within retail. Was it surprising to you? If so, why? If not, why not?
You know, on face value, when they first announced this, it was like, all right, retailers were like headed to an early happy hour on Friday afternoon. And then when President Trump spoke, it was like, okay, put your drink down, because they're gonna work these in another way, apparently. You know, not to mention the huge headache. I'd hate to be a CFO or legal right now at a retailer to figure out how you're going to get these refunds. And of course, as you were saying, there's all different types of tariffs. So some will get refunds, some are eligible, and others, like furniture, auto parts, are less likely. They don't have the same refundable tariffs. There's different types of tariffs, and uncertainty is the enemy of retail.
So what are the 4 top retail stocks that could weather Trump's tariffs? Number 1, Walmart. But wasn't Walmart stock down last week? Number 2, Costco. Less than 25% of Costco's US sales are imported. So that means 75% are not. Number 3, BJ's Wholesale. I don't know anybody who shops there. And number 4, Kroger. This is your grocery store. So what do the experts say?
What types of companies could then outperform in an environment where the tariffs are still relatively unclear?
Yes, so that's a great question. I think if you look at a TJX, for example, who's buying inventory, that's not leftover, but yes, often leftover from other retailers, extra capacity that they're taking up. That's a great example. Also, one of the biggest values in the market. The consumer is obviously out there looking for inspiration and value. And the other type of value they're looking for is consistency, easy delivery, best prices, and best availability. And that, of course, is Walmart, who has an 800 basis point comp spread between Target at the moment.
Wow.
And they're gaining share from that high-income consumer. They're literally getting the $100,000 customer coming to them saying, hey, Walmart's my place now.
So why did Walmart stock barely move after positive earnings? Because they had a solid holiday quarter, the board okays a $30 billion buyback, and the e-commerce rose 27%. And fourth quarter revenue rose 5.6%. So are you telling me the stock barely moved because of their cautious 2027 profit forecast? Or is Walmart simply overvalued at $1 trillion market cap? I think it's overvalued at a $1 trillion market cap.
Let's get straight to Walmart now, because that is the big corporate story of the day. The company issuing cautious full-year guidance after modestly beating fourth quarter estimates. And remember, this marks the retailer's first earnings report under new CEO John Furner. Senior reporter Brooke DePalma joins me now with the top takeaways. Now, this is a little bit of a specification there. It's his first report as CEO of the company. But the last quarter that they're reporting now actually ended the day before he took over.
It's also the first time that Walmart is reporting as a company that now has a $1 trillion market cap. And on top of that, this is the first time that the company is reporting while being listed at the NASDAQ, as I am right now. And so it's one of many firsts for Walmart. But despite that, the company did beat modestly when it came to that fourth quarter report. And to take a closer look at some of the statistics that really caught investors' attention this morning, let's take a look at revenue, U.S. e-commerce sales, as well as global advertising. Here in the U.S., we did see revenue tick just a bit higher than what Wall Street had forecasted, up about 5.6% to $190.7 billion. Wall Street was looking for $190.6 billion, so just a touch higher. U.S. e-commerce sales, they continued to soar double digits this past quarter, largely boosted by that delivery time, especially the under 3-hour mark for deliveries. And on top of that, John Furner just saying on the call that winter storm that we got here in the U.S. actually led to a boost within their delivery service as well. He also mentioned that convenience is more so a factor, if not the same importance as price. So that's really interesting. And that certainly boosted e-commerce sales this past quarter. And on top of that, we continue to watch global advertising. The Walmart Connect business continues to do well for them. We also lapsed that acquisition of Vizio as well in December. But investors trying to assess this outlook here. We know that Walmart typically puts out a pretty prudent, cautious guidance. to kick off each fiscal year. This is their fiscal year 2027. And the company said that they plan to grow net sales in the range of 3.5% to 4.5%. And CFO John David Rainey, who I know we're talking to later on this morning, he said, quote, "Our goal is to outperform this guidance." And he went on to say that we believe it's prudent to start the year with a level of conservatism given the current backdrop that is somewhat still unstable. And he went on to say that nothing's really different when it comes to the macroeconomic factors or consumer behavior, but there are, quote unquote, certainly indicators like a hiring recession or lower consumer sentiment that could weigh on sales in this coming year. And he also said that larger than expected tax returns are baked into this guidance as well, Julie.
And so will Nvidia's earnings on Wednesday, will that boost the stock market or make the market flat or drop the stock market? And do the tariffs have anything to do with Nvidia?
You know, the street has a pretty good fix on these numbers. It feels like, the earnings estimates have been rock solid, rising. Jensen Huang's always optimistic. So what do you think the street is hoping to hear, wishing to get clarity on?
I mean, earnings expectations rising, I think, understates it. I'd say more like exploding. Right. But no, I mean, I think the Nvidia quarterly earnings reports, the street has become accustomed to very consistent beats, guides above the street. I think part of the reason for the consistency is that the demand is so high that they're supply constrained. I think that remains the case. I think what the street really wants to hear is beyond this quarter, next quarter, what is the demand outlook into next year, particularly given that announcement we just heard on OpenAI? How long is this cycle going to last? How high is this cycle going to go? I think those are the types of things that from here are going to drive Nvidia stock.
And what do you think is built in? Because, the stock has been sideways for 6 months. Obviously, the valuation is compressed as those earnings estimates have gone up. So, I mean, do we really need to have, one of these huge estimates for 2027 to get it moving?
Well, I mean, I think for it to work on earnings, you certainly need a beat. I think the size of the beats over the last couple of quarters has been increasing. So I think you could get a big beat here. I think expectations are pretty high, to be fair. I think the magnitude of sort of quarterly revenue growth they've been reporting has also been expanding. So the business has been accelerating from that standpoint. You should get that sort of indication here.
And will Nvidia's Jensen Huang reveal some agentic AI for Nvidia? Because he talked about this last quarter, and agentic AI is the new hot thing. And here Jensen Huang says AI agents would create a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity for many industries, from medicine to software engineering. So will he drop a bomb about agentic AI on Wednesday so that the stock explodes over 200? What do you think?
I think it's going to be interesting to hear Jensen talk about agentic software development. I think that's sort of the new, he started to preview that last quarter. I think we're going to hear a lot more there given what Anthropic has recently been releasing, but that seems to be the next new really killer, multi-billion-dollar use case for AI.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit the notification button. See you in the next video, which is Sunday night, where I give you my upcoming trades of the week. And as always, be careful trading, and nothing on this channel is financial advice.